Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thank you again for being here today. Again, my name is Mary Cheryl Horry, and it's a pleasure to have you here in the Dixon Lecture Hall with us for the first offering of the Aging Academy this semester. We will have 5 more after today, so please come back and join us. We will send you reminders of what's going on and what time and where to be, so we look forward to seeing you again. We'd also like to welcome our Hickory group. I don't know if you can see me. This is camera, in case anybody was wondering why we have an owl looking thing up here. We do have a Hickory group that's with us today via our live streaming event in our Hickory campus of the Interprofessional Clinic. So welcome to that group as well. So later this semester in November, we will have a presentation on aging in place. She's right behind us. In February, we'll have a lecture on the importance of ballad with Dr. Jared Skinner, who is one of our exercise scientists here. He'll be talking about balance and gait and how you keep it. In March, we'll be talking about dementia, understanding dementia, learning a little bit more about dementia. That will be with some of our occupational therapy faculty in this building. And then in April, the last presentation will be on global perspectives of aging, and that will be a faculty member in our sociology department, which is not part of the College of Health Sciences, but here at App State. So all definitely going to be interesting lectures and very relevant to anybody who is either a caregiver or is interested in aging, or if you're in my boat, you're on the fast track of aging quickly. So please join us for all of those. Today's presentation is about cognitive wellness, presented by Dr. Kim McCullough. Kim is the graduate program director and professor in the Department of Rehabilitation Sciences here at App State in the College of Health Sciences. She teaches courses in adult neurogenic communication disorders. Her clinical activities and research interests include developing clinically efficient assessment and treatment protocols for individuals at risk for and with cognitive impairments. So please join me in welcoming Kim.
Thank you, Mary Cheryl. So I have the microphone on. Can you all hear me okay? Yes, everybody can hear me okay? I hope so, because I really don't know how to turn it up. So
mouth. When you turn your head to the left, it's easier to hear you. So if you twist it more toward your mouth, it'll be easier to hear you.
okay.
First idea.
Let's try that. You think that'll be better? It'll stay right there in the middle. I don't think it'll turn because I don't have on a collared shirt.
Yeah.
How about that? Perfect. Close enough, right? Okay, well, thank you all for coming out on a Friday afternoon to learn about dancing, which was super fun, and then also to come and listen a little bit about cognitive wellness. And I think that this is probably a great topic to start off this Aging Academy series for the year. A couple of things. One of the things is I would like for you all, and I thought we would take a couple minutes, but maybe not, because I think some of you have already started, but at least to take a look. I put a self-assessment in front of you. It has lots of lines, but at the very top, one of the things that you see is a blank space that says, what do you think cognitive wellness means to you? And so I wanted you all just to take just a minute to jot that down. What you think, so that maybe you can kind of compare and contrast after we finish if you were on the right track, which I suspect many of you are. I see a lot of familiar faces in the crowd. So, okay, does anybody have questions or anybody need another copy? We got some.
Yes, yes, oh, yes, I think.
Oh, good. Arlinda, you,
I need the one that.
oh, this, one of these?
No, this one.
Oh, the survey. Mary Shell's survey,
See Morgan?
yes, yeah. Okay.
We'll just read.
Oh, we got some, okay, good, all right.
You need it.
Pardon?
She needs it too.
Oh, two of them, okay, we'll get them, to you. But it's the one for IHHS. Okay, all right. So let's just get started and I'll let you all be thinking about that. But when I think about cognitive wellness, did anybody, write some things down before we got started?
Sure.
Yeah, let's hear it.
My husband wrote the ability of the brain to function at its peak.
The ability of the brain to function at its peak.
I said understanding people, surroundings, and communicating.
Understanding people, surroundings, and communicating. So Kathy?
Yeah, I said, making sure your brain doesn't slow down prematurely.
Making sure your brain doesn't slow down prematurely, yes.
Yes, to function effectively with others on a level that gives satisfaction and confidence.
Fabulous. So to function effectively in order to give others satisfaction and confidence. Fabulous. So you all, I have a much simpler definition, but I think it encompasses everything that you all just said, right? So cognitive wellness, in a very simplified form, you can think of it as how well we think, how well we communicate, learn, remember, process information, problem solve, and then communicate, okay? So, research tells us, and Sandy even talked to us a little bit about this today, that you can actually optimize your cognitive wellness, okay? And so why is this important? And I'm sure you all are thinking, well, just because of course it's important for all of us to optimize our cognitive wellness. But I'm gonna bring up sort of the elephant in the room, which is that aging is the biggest risk factor for dementia. And from age 17 in the back to 53 to I think Sandy was 85. Everybody in this room is aging, right? So we are all aging, and that's one of the biggest risk factors for dementia. So some quick facts. Thinking about dementia, more than 6,000 Americans are living with Alzheimer's. 6 million, thank you. That was a test. And you won. Oh, good job, good job.
And I'm 80.
And you're 80. Cognitive wellness, okay, right there. So paying attention. In 2023, Alzheimer's cost our nation 300, and I think it says $45 billion. And by 2050, that could rise to as high as $1 trillion. And this is also very interesting. Over 11 million Americans are actually providing unpaid care for their relatives and loved ones who have dementia. And that the total that the Alzheimer's Association has come up with is that about 18 million hours and nearly $340 billion worth of care for free, right? Which these numbers are kind of staggering, aren't they? So gotta hold your mouth just right. 1 in 3 seniors die with dementia, and that increased 16% during the pandemic. Okay, so that's a lot of folks. And these are interesting numbers and are relatively new in the last year that have come out, is that 4 in 10 Americans say that, 4 in 10 Americans while 4 in 10 Americans talk to their doctors right away when experiencing cognitive loss, 7 out of 10 would want to know if there were some type of early treatment. So basically what this is saying is that if you're experiencing some changes or have concerns about your cognition, although you would like to talk to your doctor, not as many people who have concern, who need to talk to the physician are stepping up. And it's not just you. Almost 100% of physicians say that they think it's important to assess cognition in folks that are over age 60, but only half of them do that, conduct those assessments. So there is some stigma, right, associated with dementia and declining cognitive abilities. And we don't like to talk about it, but it's important that we do, because there are different therapies and treatments that people can receive. So this slide has a lot of information on it, but I just wanted to kind of give you a quick overview. We have what's called normal aging, okay? And all of us experience slight cognitive changes as we age, okay? And that is completely normal, okay? But there are what we call preclinical phases, okay? Where an individual may say, you know, I'm concerned about my cognition, but when an objective assessment or an objective measure is given, there's nothing that a physician or anybody can say that would indicate that there's anything to be concerned about. But quite a bit of the research indicates that if you have a concern, you probably are right to have a concern, that you're probably the first one who might notice a change. And that is also sometimes called subjective cognitive decline. And then you have what's called mild cognitive impairment. This is sort of the next stage towards potentially developing Alzheimer's or another type of dementia. And with mild cognitive impairment, you have cognitive concerns. You're still working, you're still doing you're still doing all the things. But if somebody were to sit down and give you a cognitive assessment, your scores might be lower, okay? Whereas in this first preclinical phase, they weren't. And then you move into dementia. Now, one of the interesting things and of note is that you can have this subjective cognitive decline, the first preclinical, and never move past that. You can have MCI and never develop dementia. So these mild, moderately severe, these phases are not what we're talking about today. We're not going to talk about dementia. So even though that looks like a cliff that we all might fall off of, I'm not suggesting that at all, okay? Okay. So what we know then is we just reviewed the numbers for the United States, but actually cognitive decline and dementias are a global priority, okay? And the World Health Organization put together a panel back in 2017, and one of the key aspects of their plan was prevention of cognitive impairment. So what we know then, right, or what they are saying is that, you know, we're not going to find a drug, we're not going to find a cure in time for Alzheimer's. So maybe in addition to focusing on those things, we also should focus on some prevention aspects. If we had an intervention that could delay the onset of dementia by just 5 years, that would result in a 40% reduction in the number of folks who have dementia. And I hate to put a number on it, but the Alzheimer's Association does, which that would also result in a reduction of 350 billion, not thousand, not million, but billion, $535 billion in Medicare costs. So that's pretty significant, right? So it's important that we, in our country and then worldwide, find a cure or a way to slow the progression of dementia. So today's focus is probably something that you are familiar with. Today's focus is an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Have you've heard that before? Is that familiar? Okay. Okay. So here's the fact. There's really not a direct relationship between the degree of brain pathology and the clinical manifestation of damage. Now, that's a lot to unpack. But if you, for example, have Alzheimer's disease, you had it when you were 20. That pathology has already started in your brain. It is there, and it is a very slow progressing disease process. But what this says is that you can have brain pathology, but never on the outside to any of your friends or to yourself or anybody else having clinical symptoms, appear confused, appear disoriented, have memory problems. And that's kind of the good news, right? Is that you can have this pathology, but not really have any clinical symptoms. 25% of individuals, and thank you to individuals who've given their brains to research, who after they have died and their brains are autopsied, what we know is that 25% of individuals who have evidence of Alzheimer's in their brain did not exhibit symptoms of dementia in their lifetime. That's pretty cool, right? Did you know that? That's one new thing, okay? A couple of things that we know is that individuals who have higher levels of education or have had a job or participated in activities across their lifespan that have required cognitive effort, that you've had to use your brain, can sustain greater pathology or greater brain damage than those who didn't have a job that required a lot of cognitive effort or thinking effort. And why is that? Well, yeah, Kathy.
I was gonna say, look, the brain is a muscle. And if you don't exercise it and you don't use it, it's gonna
Atrophy.
That's exactly right. And there is a
get
concept.
flabby and weak.
That's right, get flabby and weak, like my hips right now. Why are these individuals then not exhibiting signs of dementia? Well, it's because of something called cognitive reserve. And cognitive reserve is this concept that you can build your brain over the course of a lifetime, and it protects you from that disease process, okay? It's protective. So dancing, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, is a very neuroprotective activity. Okay, so because of differences in cognitive reserve, and what is cognitive reserve? It's basically just your mind's resistance to brain damage, okay? To brain damage. So, how do we sustain then our cognitive reserve across our lifetime? Well, there was a pretty important paper that came out in 2020, and it identified some what we call modifiable risk factors. So there are 60 risk factors for dementia. 60% of the risk factors for dementia are unknown, okay? But there are 40% of the risk factors that are potentially modifiable. So things we can change, okay? And we're going to talk about a few of those, but I just want to point out some. One includes hearing loss, traumatic brain injury. So for example, elderly or senior adults are at the most risk for traumatic brain injury because of falls. Okay, you fall and hit your head. Hypertension, what we know about hypertension and the brain is that if you have hypertension, you have high blood pressure, especially in midlife, you need to get it under control. Because that can damage your brain and put you at risk. And that's a risk factor that you can actually control. That's what's nice about these, is that you do have some control over them. Depression, social isolation, physical inactivity later in life, these things also can contribute to potentially developing dementia. But then on the flip side, you may be able to do some things about these risk factors to manage them, okay? And there are lots of individuals who, like it or not, just have good genes, right? So everyone knows somebody who just doesn't matter what they do, they're golden. Okay, but what's important, and I think the biggest message today is that you do have some control over your own cognitive wellness, and you can build cognitive reserve. Okay, so you can exercise that muscle. And so what we're going to talk about today then are cognitive practices that build cognitive wellness. And these are in no particular order, okay? The first is eating healthy foods. The second is be physically active. The third is get enough sleep. The fourth is manage stress. This is not me, by the way. The fifth is nurture social connections. And the sixth is challenge your brain. Now, some of you may be thinking right now, duh, we all know this, right? These are all the things that our grandmother actually told us to do, right? You've heard these things forever. Well, what I hope you might take away from this today is those activities are actually more important than you think. And you can have some control over the health of your brain, okay? Also, full disclosure, each of these topics is at least one presentation, one whole class, right? In and of themselves. And so we don't have time for that today, but I do want to sort of skim the top of this so you guys get an idea of some things that you can do to maintain your own cognitive wellness. The first is eat healthy foods, okay? And researchers, and I'm going to come over here so I can look at my notes in relationship to the studies, but what researchers have found is with this MIND diet, that is, the MIND diet is a combination of the Mediterranean diet. Have you all heard of that? And the DASH diet, which is the low sodium diet for hypertension. Researchers have found that this diet, if you can, adhere to it as much as possible, and I'm looking for my notes here, you can decrease your risk for dementia. Oh, I lost my glasses. Here they are. All right. Okay, this is interesting. Researchers found a 53% lower rate of Alzheimer's disease for individuals who had the highest MIND scores. Okay, and that means that they ate this diet on a regular basis. And I'm thinking that they followed these folks for 10 years, followed these individuals for 10 years. And these folks, what they found in their study is that even the people who just followed this diet moderately showed a decrease of 35% risk factor in comparison to people who did not, okay? And so, of course, researchers are looking into this all the time, but it's very important to, think about your diet. Yes,
Quick question. Are your presentation slides going to be available afterwards?
I'm not making them available, but the Mind Diet is, all you do is Google it and it just comes right up. There's a lot of information on the Mind Diet right now. Kathy?
Okay, I don't follow that. But a while back, a couple of months ago, I was just starting to say something is wrong, just kind of,
Right?
my brain's not working right. So I saw that commercial for that, Nature's Bounty, those vitamins, I tried that. I take those now, my brain gets dusted off every morning.
Well, that's great. So there may be some supplements.
Fruits and, yeah, one is fruits and the other is vegetables.
Right, and as I was saying, I'm gonna give you all one slide for topics that could go on for days. But I thought that this was pretty powerful, this Mind Diet. Now, this is not a one and done, right? This is not what we did last week. This is over 10 years. And so one of the things that you should keep in mind is you need to start now or yesterday, right? But most of the research does show that even starting now, you can make a difference. That makes total sense. If you think about your body and how you exercise your body, that if you exercise your body or if you exercise your brain, you are making it stronger, okay? And you can withstand disease. The next one, and this is complete oversimplification, but be physically active. And the general guidelines are 2.5 hours a week of moderate physical intensity. So that could be going to the gym, and that could be group exercise classes. They also recommend lifting weights, but also it could be exercising out in our community. It could be going to the rec center.
About gardening.
How about gardening? Absolutely, it could be gardening. It could just be climbing up and down the stairs to get into your apartment or get down to your laundry. It could be parking further away from the door at Harris Teeter. And the idea here is that small changes can lead to big differences. And so one of the things I know for myself that oftentimes delays me maybe from getting started on anything is you think, well, that's too big. Like, I don't have that much time. I can't do that. But you could park a little bit further from the door, right? You could garden a little bit extra. You could go on an extra walk with a friend. So there are all sorts of ways to increase your activity. And I talked to, I think, an exercise science faculty member at some point and about this, and they said, just move more. Move more than you are now. So just start that process, okay? Also, when you think about being physically active, think about the programming that we offer here in our Aging Well program. So we have the Tai Chi class that folks participate in, and those are ongoing, and those are free to the community. So you can check our website for times to participate in those. And Kate, am I putting you on the spot? Do you know when another class is starting? Or does anybody out there know?
We just had one start here.
Oh, we just had one start in the building.
Yeah, it's our second week.
Okay,
The next class, where and when?
okay, let's stay tuned.
Stay tuned, yes.
Okay, great. So Tai Chi is a great physical activity. And Tai Chi, I'm awarding some activities Triple Crown Award winners, and Tai Chi would be one of those. Because Tai Chi is typically done in a group, so that is nurturing social connections. It challenges your brain, especially if you haven't done it before, because you have to think about all of the movements. And it's physical activity. Triple Crown winner right there, okay? So participate in our Tai Chi programs. And I'm sorry that Sandy isn't here. She told you all about dance, but dancing is also a Triple Crown winner. And there is a lot of literature to support that it decreases the risk for dementia as well, for the same reasons Tai Chi does. It's a physical activity, it nurtures social connections, and then it also requires a lot of brain activity because you have to synchronize your thoughts with your movements, right? So dancing is also a Triple Crown winner. Sleep. Researchers found, and this can go on too, right? That 7 hours seem to be the sweet spot for older adults. You can agree or disagree with me on that, but let's see. They said if you slept less than 6 hours a night, you showed a higher risk of 30% higher risk of developing dementia later in life compared to those who slept 7 hours a night. And 8 hours or more didn't seem to make a difference. So 7 hours seemed to be the sweet spot for just decreasing your risk of dementia or cognitive impairment. And sleep also has some extra benefits. One, it relaxes us, lowers our blood pressure, certainly helps us maintain healthy body weight, keeps us active in sports. How many of you have ever had a bad night of sleep? Yeah, it's kind of light right now. So you know that if you're not sleeping well, you're sluggish and you don't want to move and do and interact with people, right? Whereas if you have a good night's sleep, you're more likely to participate in all these other activities that are good for cognitive wellness. Yes.
Is that 7 hours, at one point?
No. Well, as you age, you have more awakenings during the night, and so it is, and it goes on, and so that's a whole nother discussion. But 7 hours-ish, right? I think it's as good as we can get, right? Of sleep helps improve. It also helps improve concentration. And what we know about sleep is really some important work as far as memory consolidation of what you did for the day happens at night. So you are processing your entire day as you sleep and solidifying those memories that you made during the day. And so sleep is super important. Yes, ma'am.
What about naps?
What about naps? And I read about it and I decided to skip it, but naps are good.
Okay.
And I think the shorter, like 20 to 30-minute naps are supposed to be more energizing than longer, but naps are okay. Are you a napper? I am too. It's okay. I'm a napper.
I think the Mexicans have it all over us. They take a siesta. And it goes on for 2 hours, and then they have 2 days in one. When you get up, you feel like you're starting another day.
So it's well, there you go. So making the most of it, right? So you have a break during your day and then back at it again. The fourth factor that you all should consider, the fourth practice, is to manage stress. Have any of you all ever been stressed? Well, as you well know, it's associated, right, with anxiety, with excessive eating, weight gain, weight loss. I was getting ready for this presentation last couple of days. I thought, where's my cup of coffee? And I drank it. And I never knew it. Depression, indigestion, memory and concentration problems. So stress, and it also has an impact on the way the cells in your brain function. So what are and this is obviously a very oversimplified key to stress reduction, but you either need to change your habits, change the situations that are stressful, or change your reaction to that situation, okay? And then think about mastering the art of relaxation. And that is a physical state of deep rest that lowers your heart rate, your blood pressure, decreases oxygen consumption, and reduces levels of stress hormones. And I really just put this slide in here because that's my back deck. Isn't that so nice? This is a happy place, right? This is a place for relaxation. It was just such a great picture. I needed to put it in here. Okay, nurture social connections. There's a lot going on in Boone and in Watauga County. I don't know if you all noticed or not, but if you want to do it, we've got it, right? So you can go to the Jones house. There's a stag club that I put up. Oh, yeah, Carol. Yes. Okay. Carol, where do they meet?
Green Park Inn.
At the Green Park Inn.
The next dance is the first Tuesday in October, 7 to 9.
Okay, the next dance is Tuesday, October
3rd, I believe.
October the 3rd, the first Tuesday of the month, from 7 to 9 at Green Park Inn.
The website.
And so look at the website, be there, be square, right? Yeah, okay. And then again, I want to put a plug in for our programming, because the programming that we provide here, we have different support groups, different talk groups. We have a strong body, strong mind group. We have balance classes, Tai Chi classes, and they're all free and they're readily available to all of you. So I would encourage you to take advantage of those as well. When you think about nurturing social connections, one of the things that we know is if you have a larger network of social connections, it reduces the risk of dementia. And I think that that might be a little bit misleading, because some of us have a gazillion friends and are friends with everybody. Who are the extroverts in the room? Is that you? Yeah. Yes, yes. You know who you are. And then some of us have extrovert, and then some of us are introverts. And so we have our 5 friends, and we are really good with that, right?
Right.
Yes. Are you an introvert? You're an introvert. There you go. So the idea here is that your social network needs to be the right one for you, but having a social network does reduce your risk of dementia. It improves your physical health. It increases synaptogenesis and neurogenesis. So it increases your brain cells. You're getting new growth in your brain cells from the social connections and the activities that you are doing. And it lowers levels of stress and depression. And if you go back to that chart that we looked at with modifiable risk factors, depression was one of those. So physical activity, stress management, nurturing social connections, all help to reduce any kinds of symptoms of depression. I mean, why do you have to hit it 3 times? I don't know. I don't know if the batteries are going.
Wants to make sure that you really mean it.
I really mean it. Also, one of the things that I want to point out about nurturing social connections is that hearing loss is associated with cognitive decline.
Yeah.
When you can't hear, what that means is your brain is not getting the stimulation it needs, right? And so, and if you're not hearing well, oftentimes, what do? You don't go to that social activity. You don't participate as much as you used to. So I would like to encourage all of you, that if you think you're having difficulty with, hearing, I want to give a shout out to Dr. Ben Russell. But Dr. Russell, right, is an audiologist. You can go see any audiologist you want in town, but he's pretty special. And you need to get your hearing checked, because this is a pretty significant risk factor for developing cognitive decline. He's here in the building.
In this?
Yes, we have audiology and speech language pathology.
You make an appointment?
So you can make an appointment with Ben here.
And what's his name?
Scott? Yeah, Ben Russell.
Ben Russell.
I was gonna put his name there, shouldn't I have? Ben, that would have been smart. Ben Russell.
Yes.
Hey,
On the way out, it's to show anybody where the clinic space is, where you can sign up in person. And I can show you where the audiology clinic is, the water fountain, so please, on the way out, look for, I'm in a bright orange shirt.
stand up and so everybody can see you.
I'm like a traffic cone and I will point you in the directions for the clinic, okay? Because it's amazing. You can go today, you can get signed up for your ADL assessment, you can get signed up for the audiology clinic. We can do all that and then the lovely people at the front counter will get you an appointment. So look for me. I'll be waving like a crazy person.
I think
Won't
part of
miss it.
Yeah, you may overwhelm on Friday afternoon at 4. I don't know if they'll be there at 4, but you can call and I bet Ben has some cards we can pass out, right? Okay.
You're gonna text her to leave, bro. Thanks for letting me interrupt.
Absolutely. And then, like Kathy was talking about earlier, it's a principle of neuroplasticity, which is if you don't use it, you lose it, okay? And so you want to challenge yourselves to continue participating in things you enjoy, learn something new, okay? Or do something new. And then once you've learned something new or done something new, use it, practice it, do it over and over again. Now, the one thing I will say is that if you are already really, really good at something, you just keep doing it and that's entertaining and fun. But if you are trying to challenge your brain, if you have done crossword puzzles all of your life and you're really good at those, then that's not really challenging your brain.
Sudoku.
Huh? Sudoku? So Sudoku is something Kathy uses, but find whatever it is that challenges your brain and do that. Yes.
So isn't there some research that also support that if you have that practice that you do all the time, that teaching other people also increases neuroplasticity?
Absolutely, absolutely. And technology, even how to use your television these days, right? Provides us endless opportunities to learn something new on a regular basis. And just wait 3 months and it's gonna change, right? So there are plenty of opportunities. One thing I do want to point out is that there are lots of brain training programs online for purchase. And if you have extra money and you want to spend it on that and you enjoy that, you go for it. But one of the things that we do know is that if you are working on crossword puzzles or brain games, you really just get better at those. Okay, and so not necessarily a sort of a global cognitive improvement, just for that one activity.
There is one online that's fantastic. It's called Mind Pal. One word. They give you every day they give you a new workout. It's got math, it's got cognitive things, it's got word stuff, and it's different.
Is it Mind Path or Mind?
Mind Pal.
Mind Path.
Mind Pal, one word.
And
It's just,
so you can,
the whole range.
so they're all available. And so, I encourage you, if that's something you're interested in, you can take a look at it. But if there are activities that you can do that also, require, social or, provide you with social connections, that's, important as well. So, if you like to go to the winery and drink wine, learn about wines, while you're there. So take something you're already doing and, expand that. And I like this cartoon, because it turns out you can teach a dog old tricks, an old dog new tricks. There was a study, there have been several studies, with just 3 weeks of training, where people, with computers, individuals can improve or increase the size of their hippocampus, which is a structure in the brain that's important for memory. And so, and this was with, older adults, this study was done, just 3 weeks. And so I guess the point here is that anything you do improves the strength of your brain, okay?
Do you offer, technology classes?
We don't right now, but I will tell you that's something we're thinking about offering. Last spring, we offered a sort of a small technology class, and I'll tell you, it was kind of a big fail and a big success all at the same time. We offered a technology class, and I thought I would have folks come in and we would talk about all the ways you could use your phone for memory enhancing activities. And so you could use the calendar, and we'd teach people how to use those activities. Well, folks came in and everybody had very individualized needs, and everybody had a different phone. So, so I had to throw my plans out the window, but I think we had a good time anyway. And, so it's on our minds because, do you know what we have in this building? What they're called digital natives, which means all of the students know how to use all of the devices. And if they don't know, they can figure it out. So it's something, oh gosh, that advances line. Yeah.
Our next aging academy is on technology.
Oh, good, yes. What,
October 13th.
October 13th, write that down. That's our next aging academy. Oh, good, thank you, Erlinda. It's on, and there's a piece of paper, it's right here, with the schedule, but you all.
This one.
Oh, that one. This one, but check out, our, lineup, because technology, you might really enjoy that. So going back to Tai Chi, it also challenges your brain, okay? A recent study found that folks who participated in Tai Chi for a year improved their ability to multitask, manage time, and make decisions. That's pretty cool. So think about that as a potential activity.
Tai Chi class here.
Yes, ma'am.
Where did I just get her?
Pardon?
What is the schedule for that?
What is the schedule for the Tai Chi classes?
Tai Chi class.
Kate, will you stand up for just, thank you, Kate.
Hi, everybody. My name is Kate Darrell. I assist in teaching a Tai Chi class here on Thursdays. At the moment, the class is full. We're very popular. But I will make sure that our manager, Amber Chapman, who's not here today, she's presenting the conference, get some of that information out. We can distribute it to all if you have left your email with outreach.
So if you checked in and we got your email, then we'll be sending you an email when a new class opens up. So, and we have a lot of fun with Tai Chi. Okay, so challenging your brain. Let's practice some things. The first thing I want you all to practice, and you just talk to yourselves, is what color are the seats of your car? You know?
Oh.
How many street lights are on the way to your usual grocery store? Can you describe the person who delivers your mail? Or, are your eyes the same color as your father's?
What does that mean?
It means, do you remember were you at some point paying attention to your dad's eye color? Yeah, just, yeah. One of the things that I get a lot of times in the, groups that I do is folks will say, well, I'm just having trouble with my memory. But once we dig a little bit deeper, it turns out they're just not paying attention. So sometimes, it's not that you don't remember, it's that you weren't paying attention when somebody asked you about that. How many of you, and I do this all the time, and so I don't take it personally when folks do this to me, get a text message or a voicemail, and you're answering that while you're doing something else, and then you never get back to it. Has that ever happened to you all? Okay. It's not that you didn't remember, it's that you never processed it to be able to remember it. So paying attention is kind of the first step when you think about memory. I'm going to challenge you all on the way out the door to try something new. And the first thing I want you to do today while we're sitting here is, unless you show off to ambidextrous, and there's always three in the crowd, would you write your name with your non-dominant hand?
Remember you told us in one of the classes, brother, to the left hand and put your other leg on your hands first.
That's right.
That's hard.
It is.
Years ago, I broke my arm and it was the right arm.
Oh,
I
yeah.
had to learn how to-
I had to learn
Penmanship is not.
No, that's not. So this weekend, I'd like you to challenge yourself to do something new. And when I say something new, it doesn't mean that you have to go somewhere new. But how many of you go to the grocery store occasionally? Anybody go to the grocery store? Okay. The next time you go to the grocery store, when you walk in the door, turn the opposite direction that you turned before. Like, try something new. I will tell you what I think is a kind of a funny story, and I know that some of you have heard this. I challenged a man I was working with to try something new, and he came back the next week and reported to the group that he had decided that he was going to go out a different door of his house than he normally went out. And he said it was great because he did not realize that some leaves had were on the deck there, needed some extra paint, there were some things he needed to do. And I said, well, good for you. He said, but I'm not gonna do it anymore. He said, because my dog hated it. His poor little dog was confused all week because he was going out the wrong door. So anyway, challenge yourself, except don't stress out your puppy dogs.
You're not do something would be using the remote control.
Well, here's the deal, is I use this 4 times a week in class, and I'm not in this classroom, and in the classroom I'm in,
And you'll
it
get
works.
the non-dominant hand.
I know. That's good. All right, so I want you all to pat yourselves on the back, because you have, I thought you were all gonna be dancing, and I guess if we had done the Congo into the room, maybe you all can do the Congo out of the room. We can count that as being physically active, but by attending today, you have nurtured social connections and you have challenged your brain. So, if you do something physically active today, then you can also be a Triple Crown awardee, okay? Thank you all for your attention.
Oh, no, you keep the papers. Oh, here, Cheryl, do you have papers you need?
Hold on just one second, we're gonna close things down. Yes, thank you. If you got an evaluation paper on your way in, did everybody get one? If you could complete that and turn it back into us, because that helps us figure out what offerings to come up with, what presentations you all would like to hear about. So if you could complete that and leave it up here, up front, or on your way out the door. Thank you for attending today, and I hope to see you back in October for the technology tips and tricks presentation. All right, thank you.
Hi, I'm Joan. John is supposed to be a July, and I'm a little perplexed now. Yes, John. I had to leave early. Okay, and he didn't need to turn it in, but thank you very much. You done your due. Okay, good. Nice to meet you, Jen. Nice to meet you. Yeah, have a good day. And I got a lot of useful information. I am all in. Yeah. It's all about. Well, that's exactly right. You gotta do your part. You gotta do your part. You just can't sit there and hope for good results. That's right. Hope for magic. Thank you. Oh, no, you're good. Thanks, Pat. Thank you. Yeah. That's where I see. Oh, it was very, very.